American ginseng, Panax quinquefolius, is an herbaceous perennial plant native to North America. Ranging from northern Canada, south to Louisiana, and as far west as Nebraska and the Dakotas, ginseng was once common and plentiful throughout this range. Unfortunately, due to overharvesting and poaching, ginseng is now far less common throughout its native range and is listed under Appendix 2 of the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora. This designation means that, although American ginseng is not currently threatened with extinction, it might become so in the future unless harvesting and trade is moderated through a conservation-based approach. The University of Kentucky recently took a trip to eastern Kentucky to locate and film American ginseng. Here, Sean Wright, an extension specialist with the UK Horticulture Department, shares with us the history, ecology, conservation, and proper legal channels for harvesting and sale of American ginseng.
Ginseng has a long history of use in Asian medicine. It's been documented for several thousands of years that it's been used. Panax ginseng is typically considered the warm ginseng, whereas the American ginseng is considered cool ginseng in Asian medicine. In the history of ginseng in the United States, the Jesuit priests that came over to the colonies in the early 1700s, late 1600s, they were searching around and they found these ginseng plants that resembled the Asian ginseng and began export back to Asia, selling it there. In the early 1700s, we have records of it going back. As far as major exporters, Daniel Boone, our Kentucky resident, was one of the major exporters. He once had an order for several thousand pounds of ginseng and lost it when the barge sunk, and was able to replace that order just by sending out more people to dig ginseng in Kentucky. So it was once highly abundant, has become much more rare across the state of Kentucky. Due to loss of sites through development, through poaching, through various other means. So it's important that if you do have ginseng on your property, that you maintain it sensibly, sustainably, profitably. It's important that you put up fences. You don't want to advertise that you have ginseng on your property, because people will come on and poach your ginseng, unfortunately. So just make sure that you're maintaining the plants sensibly, sustainably, watching over them. Always plant them back where you found them. Again, as we've talked about, with your finger up to the first knuckle, within 50 feet of the mother plant. It's good to plant them in a row as you're progressing along the slope and things, just to spread it out as well. So this is a crop that has a long history of use in Kentucky. There's information through the Kentucky Department of Ag, through the University of Kentucky. The Center of Crop Diversification has a fact sheet on ginseng. Department of Forestry has been working on this as well. So there's a lot of information. I encourage you to contact your local extension agent if you're interested in more information about this plant. And get out, enjoy your forest property, and maintain this plant in a sensible, sustainable manner, and it can even be potentially profitable. There are many things to consider with ginseng. One of the first things is you must have permission from the landowner to go on their property if you're not on your own property. It's very important that ginseng be harvested legally. There is a season for it. The Kentucky Department of Agriculture has a fact sheet that's available with all the information on legal season. The legal season starts for harvest on September 1st. You can sell green ginseng, the green roots, on September 1st. Dried root harvest begins on September 15th. Season ends on December 1st. You need to be able to find what you are looking for, and the more you look for it, the better you become at recognizing it in the field. It's very characteristic. Here we have two plants right here. It's fall, so there's some nice ripe berries on here. The berries are very important. You want to harvest ginseng that is a mature berry producing plant, not something that's too young. As you can see on this plant right here, there are 3 prongs coming off of the main stem that comes off the neck of the plant. There's 3 prongs that are composed of individual leaflets. On a mature prong, there are 5 separate leaflets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This prong has lost some individual leaflets. On this younger plant, there's only 2 prongs. It did produce some berries, but this leaflet has 5 leaflets. This younger leaflet only has 4. So that's how you can tell the difference in the number of leaflets on the individual plants. As you're looking, places to look include on the north-facing slopes. East-facing slopes are more characteristic than other aspects of the slope. Somewhere typically between 1/3 and 1/4 of way down a slope is where you will find it more typically, because as the organic matter comes down the slope, it starts to build up and become much more thick. Ginseng is a plant that prefers dense shade. It prefers cooler temperatures. Some of the indicator plants include tulip poplar, bloodroot, rattlesnake fern, sang pointer, jack in the pulpit. Those are some of the typical plants that you'll find growing in association with it, but they're not the only thing. In a recent discussion with Anna Lucio from the Kentucky Department of Agriculture, I learned that the wood thrush, if you hear the wood thrush, that is actually a proven indicator of ginseng areas as well. So I didn't know that. So there's always lots of new things that you can learn about it. Legality of harvest is very important. A young plant that's, even though it may have 3 prongs and 5 leaflets, you really are looking for at least a 10-year-old plant for get a root that has decent size. It's going to be of some good value in the market. The vast majority of our ginseng that is harvested is shipped overseas. It is harvested, sold to a registered dealer, and then eventually it's exported to Asia. Your county extension agents do have a list of all the certified dealers that are around, so you can contact your local extension office, and that list is updated every year, even throughout the season. As the season progresses, it may be updated as well. So make sure you're doing that. When it's time to begin harvesting, you would remove the leaf litter and start counting back the neck scars on the plant. One thing to think about before we do something like that, though, would be to consider what to do with these berries. Legal requirements in Kentucky, there a berry just fell off in my hand. Legal requirements here in Kentucky, that probably has 2 to 3 seeds in it. The plants, the berries must be planted with nothing more than your finger, typically up to about the first knuckle on your finger, somewhere between 3/4 of an inch. So you don't use any tools when you're planting ginseng seed, and they must be planted within 50 feet of the mother plant. It's now time to plant these ginseng berries. Are falling off in my hand as we're touching the plant and things. So what we want to do is we will go in a horizontal line across the face of the slope here, typically over about 12, 18 inches from the mother plant. I find my finger joint, I clear back the leaf litter, I poke it in the ground, and I simply drop it in the hole and pull the leaf litter and soil back over it. That will allow the seed to stratify over the winter. Hopefully in a couple of years we'll have a nice young ginseng plant coming up in that location. There is some discussion going on about whether the pulp should be removed from the seed or not before the seeds are planted. There's no clear indication one way or another. So because we're wearing masks and things, we're not going to take off our mask and suck off the pulp on the seed. But we'll simply come over another 18 inches or so, find a good location, make a little hole, again, up to the first knuckle on our finger, drop it in the hole and cover it over again. Deer love to browse on ginseng. Wild turkey also love to come in and scratch and dig it up. Poachers are a serious problem. They will dig ginseng out of season and destroy the ecology, the ecosystem in the area, not to mention that it's illegal. In Kentucky, it's still considered a civil penalty for trespass, theft. Some states have much stricter penalties for theft of ginseng. In Ohio, it's a class 3 felony. One thing also to do, because this plant is senescing, it's dying back, we've already harvested the seeds from it, we'll come in and we'll top it off right at the soil surface. Then we can take that out with us. That will remove the potential of someone coming in, trespassing, locating the ginseng plant, digging it out and things. So secrecy, quietness, just not letting people know you have ginseng growing on your property will go a long way towards stewardship of your ginseng patch, which will ensure the continuity of the plant in your ecosystem for future needs and things. We found a nice 4-prong plant here, and we're going to start scraping back the soil and see, counting the neck scars and things. You can use different tools, whatever you like to use. We've got an old screwdriver, a smaller tool, tip of your pruners. Your fingers are actually a good thing to use so that you don't damage the root you're digging it. A small trowel comes in handy as well. A nice brush will come in handy as well. And now let's just start scraping away. Okay, we've got one root out of the ground now. You can see the base of the leaf stalk. There's a bud where next year's leaf stalk will arise, and when this leaf stalk falls off, there'll be a scar left on the neck of the root. And by counting the number of scars, you can age the root. We've counted this up. We think it's a 22-year-old root. The next step, once you get the root out of the ground, you notice we've left on as much of the fine hair roots as we can as well, because those are important as well. So it's a slow process. It probably took us 35-40 minutes to get this root out of the ground. But then you want to dry it, and you have to make sure that you dry it properly. If you don't dry it properly, you'll lose all the value. Do not dry them in the microwave, in the oven, in the sunshine, or anything else. We've left some of the dirt on here. You could rinse it lightly, but again, you don't want to damage the neck and knock any of that off or the fine hair roots. So it's best, you don't want a dirty root, but it doesn't need to be nice and white and clean like you were going to eat it. Best way to dry these is on a nice screen rack in a warm closet or a shady part of the barn. You don't want varmints to get at it, but typically anywhere from 85 to 90 degrees is ideal temperature for drying this. Should take about a week or so to dry in order for the plant to be ready to send to a dealer for review.
If you would like to learn more about American ginseng cultivation, collection, and regulation in Kentucky, there are a variety of resources available to help. Ginseng harvest in Kentucky is subject to an established time period of September 1st to December 1st. Due to decreasing ginseng populations, the Daniel Boone National Forest has temporarily suspended the issue of ginseng harvesting permits, and harvest of ginseng on the Daniel Boone is not permitted. The University of Kentucky Center for Crop Diversification has published a fact sheet on marketing considerations and production of ginseng in Kentucky. Additionally, the Kentucky Department of Agriculture oversees and regulates the harvest of ginseng in Kentucky. More information can be found on the KDA website. Responsible harvesting and management of American ginseng populations will ensure that this native species can be found in Kentucky forests and woodlands for many years to come.